All right. Wow. Bad news. Shakur Stevenson is being accused of ducking. Wow. It must be Friday. As Zepeda's team lets out shocking information about the negotiation and why the fight didn't take place. It seems, if Zepeda's team is telling the truth, that Eddie Hearn, like I said, is doing some gamesmanship. Can anybody say we want in-house fights? We don't care what the fans want? Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we'll be in the 135-pound division. And we will be talking about the champion for the WBC, Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson, who was unable to get a fight done with Gervonta Davis for this year. Shakur Stevenson, who will be fighting Joe Cordina. But in between the conversation about fighting Gervonta Davis and the decision to fight Joe Cordina, there was another conversation that was had with Shakur, and that was with the number one contender in the WBA, the WBC, and I do believe definitely in the top three of every major sanctioned body, Zepeda, who is represented by Golden Boy. Not Matchroom, not Al Heyman, Golden Boy. So, Shakur Stevenson, was unfortunately unable to get the fight. Now, what was the explanation given? The explanation given was something was going on with Zepeda's family, and he wanted to wait until next year to fight. So he wouldn't be available this year to fight Shakur. So Shakur has to get that bag. So just conveniently, Eddie Hearn has a lightweight of his own. Joe Cordina, he has a super featherweight coming off of a loss named Joe Cordina, who is going to now be available to move up to 135 and immediately fight for a title coming off of a loss. That's Joe Cordina. But why would that take place? Because according to Zepeda's team, it was Shakur's team that called them and said, look, man, we don't want to do it this year. We want to push it back till next year. That's what Zepeda's team said. Zepeda's team said, no, we didn't have a problem fighting this year. Matter of fact, once they pulled out, we went and got a fight this year. So we don't know what they're talking about. We were ready to go. Now, does this sound familiar, this situation? It should, because we're having the same situation with Jaron Ennis and Brian Norman, Jaron Ennis and Amanda Stanionis. Now you have it with Shakur Stevenson and Zepeda. What is the common thread through all of that? The common thread is Eddie Hearn. The common thread is Eddie Hearn, because Eddie Hearn promotes both Jaron Ennis and Shakur Stevenson. And very interestingly, people are dropping out of fight negotiations with both of them under circumstances that they say, Matchroom ain't really trying to do anything, or Matchroom's pulling out of the fight. I'm telling you, this is a track record with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn did the same thing when around the first time I really started becoming familiar with him, which is, the beginning of the conversations of fights between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Eddie Hearn did the same thing. He games with mandatories, people backing out of offers being made because they say, hey, or them making offers and Eddie brushing them off. Why? Can everybody say in-house fights? In-house fights, in-house fights, in-house fights. So we're looking at Shakur and Hearn and wondering what they're going to do next. What they're going to do next, more than likely, is have a bunch of in-house fights. And Eddie Hearn is going to move them in ways that give his other fighters access to the belts that they have and access to fights. If Eddie Hearn is going to send somebody to go over somewhere and lose, it's going to be for a lot of money. That's the boxing game that has been around for hundreds of years. The logic is not changing. Do not be surprised. But if you do anything, stop blaming a fighter off of everything that gets said and ignoring the fact that there's more than just the fighters involved in making these fights. I have always said, and I maintain, and I would say this to any fighter that tells me this, the boxers in most circumstances, in every practical aspect, work for the promoter. It's not the other way around. The promoter may tell them, hey, I really work for you. But look at the dynamic and figure out, really, who's working for who? If the fighter gets an offer of 3 fights for 3 different fights to pick from for their next fight, and they say, I don't want these fights. Well, guess what? The promoter offered them to you. But guess what? The promoter still gets to do. The promoter still gets to, if you don't want it, he still gets to get paid. He gets to put somebody else on the fight card. What do? You get to sit your ass at home and not do anything because you didn't take what he offered you. If you sign up where you can only make money if he agrees to doing a specific fight, but he can continue to make money on other fights without you, who really works for who? Who really works for who? So when American fighters put their put their careers in the hands of Eddie Hearn with a bunch of promises, look at his track record. Fahim Sator, who comes by my channel all the time, shout out to Feed Me and Mator, said, look, man, these guys know it. Shakur Stevenson knows it. That's what Fahim's opinion is. He knows it. Hearn knows it. They know what the MO is. But hey, man, I back off that a little bit and just say, hey, man, yeah, but that doesn't mean that they really feel like they have any other viable choices. He may feel like, yeah, this is a risk, but yeah, there's risks over there with the PBC. There's PBC risks with the PBC as well. But at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do. You're going to have to take the fights that you can get. But again, Shakur Stevenson is going to be pushed towards matchroom fighters. Boots Ennis is going to be pushed towards matchroom fighters. Eddie Hearn working with Turki Al-Sheikh is going to be pushed towards Eurobums. That's because guess why? Because that's how the people that are putting the fight together get paid. So do not ever expect for these different boxing entities to be working together, kumbaya for everybody. Let's just do what the fans want. Because at the end of the day, the fans are watching the fight to see a fight. They're not watching the fight, most of them, just to support a promoter. So the promoter's going to do the same thing. They're going to put a fight on to make money. They're not going to put fights on and lose money and I'm not talking about lose money on an individual fight. I'm talking about lose the money that they invested on developing the fighter, marketing the fighter over the course of their career. Unless they have an exit strategy for that situation that is profitable for them. Anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.